Hello again to another Agakala reaction. Today we will be watching How Islam Saved Western Civilization from Austin School, and it's a speech by, or lecture by Dr. Roy Casagranda, and it's very interesting. I really enjoy it. Thank you very much for recommending it. This is a continuation because it's more than 2 hours long. So basically, I'm watching it in parts every 2 weeks because I'm doing the Ottoman history series as well on every second Tuesday. So let's just jump into it and just watch more and just learn more, because that man is very knowledgeable and he teaches a lot. So, alright, there you go, and let's start.
But the Mediterranean isn't a divider, it's a connector. It has the exact opposite role. It's just small enough of a body of water that getting across it isn't too difficult. It's insulated enough that it does have tempests, which are the Mediterranean cyclones, but they're never as intense as hurricanes. The ancient world, you just didn't sail during the tempest season, which was basically fall and winter. You just stayed out of the seas, and yeah, that way you can avoid it. And so what ends up happening is the Mediterranean connects because it's a highway. It's way easier to move goods and people by boat than it is by land. Land is a pain because you've got to build a road, then you've got to maintain the road, you've got to make wagons, and the wheels are constantly breaking, and you can hardly put anything in a wagon, and then you have all these stupid animals you have to feed, right? And they need water or they'll die. And right, so if you're trying to get from Egypt to Morocco, don't go by land, go by sea. You'll get there really fast, it'll be very efficient, and your life will be relatively easy. So what ends up happening then is all the civilizations near and around the Mediterranean end up intimately connected together. So if we accept that premise, then yeah, there is some regionalism to it, even though at some level it's still a little bit of an artificial device. In other words, I'm admitting that we're maybe doing a little bit of a stretch here, but let's do it anyway for the sake of the exercise. So okay, so we've accepted that it was born in Iraq and Egypt, and then we've created a geographical boundary for it. Now we can talk about the elements. So some of the elements of Western civilization tends to be that Western civilization was pagan with pantheons, the Egyptian pantheon, the Roman pantheon, the Greek pantheon, the pantheon that went through the Fertile Crescent. But then there's this other religion, Judaism, which was, by the way, henotheistic originally, not monotheistic. So it wasn't that the Jews said there was only one God. Monotheism says there's only one God. The Jews said there is only one God for us. Y'all have a different God. That's henotheism.
Oh, interesting.
It's an important distinction.
Huh.
It's not to say that there isn't some monotheism in Judaism today. I'm talking about ancient Judaism. They were henotheistic. A lot of Jews are still henotheistic today. So in other words, there was this henotheistic religion that then spawned off Christianity and then later on Islam. So two religions came off of this one religion, and that's what we tend to think of as a Western trait, Christianity. Not the other two, not Judaism and Islam so much, but definitely Christianity. Although maybe Judaism is a little bit better accepted today, but not for the bulk of European history, right? European history is pogrom after pogrom after pogrom after pogrom until we get to the pogrom of pogroms, the Holocaust. And then Europeans go, okay, I guess we should stop killing them. But it's like this reluctant almost, I miss it. So, if we accept that that's the religious background for this, then there's the birth of government in Egypt, there's the birth of writing in Sumer. What are the other elements? One place you can look to is the 18th dynasty of Egypt. The 18th dynasty of Egypt did something really remarkable. One of the things it did was it actually started an empire. Egypt built the world's first empire that stretched from one country to the next. The 18th dynasty conquered part of Libya. They conquered Cyrenaica, eastern Libya. They conquered the northern part of the Sudan. They went into Palestine, they went all the way into Syria, and they created an empire. Well, imperialism is the history of Western civilization. So there's that element, that's interesting. The 18th dynasty also invented a convenience industry. So for example, you could write down on a stone, they like to use limestone slabs. You could write down on a slab your laundry list and send your laundry, and they would wash it and then they would bring it to you. Or you could put a grocery list and you could call them up on the phone. No, that's not right. You enter it into your lap. No, that's not right either. You would give the list to a boy, and the boy would take it to the store. He'd buy your groceries and bring them to you. There was this entire giant apparatus built around convenience in the 18th dynasty in Egypt.
They're ready. That was quick. Yeah, okay, so we're here and let's play. So far it's kind of interesting. Well, it's just the beginning, obviously, from this part, and yeah, the good, good points there about how it is that, yeah, well, a lot of things that we have now, they're not like that new. Like, obviously there were people that they would be doing stuff for you beforehand. You just have to have money for it, I believe. Rich people could always kind of be convenient, how to say that? Rich people could always get the convenience because kind of it's like that through thousands of years. Basically, it's just if you have money that you can pay someone to do it, why not? And it's the same thing here, and that was the same way 1,000 years ago. So, or if you have maybe not exactly money, but, well, 1,000 years ago probably money, or gold most likely, but definitely some means to pay that person. Okay.
They took history to a new level. So by the end of the 18th dynasty, they did a better job of chronicling their events, so that by the 19th dynasty, they were doing a really good job of it. 18th dynasty, they were still figuring this out. So they would, for example, one of the things that we know is Thutmose III was an amazing pharaoh because, and as a warrior, he would lead his men into battle from the front line, and he was a general, and he commanded his men, and he never lost a battle. And we know that he was in 17 military campaigns because they chronicled all of that. By the way, they were prolific writers. They wrote poetry, they wrote love letters, they kept track of who lived where, so they did a census. There is a little town in Upper Egypt, if you go there, it's Deir el-Medinat, where we know more about the people living in that town over the course of a 400-year span of time, because we have their notes, we have their love letters, we have the poetry they were writing each other, we have their laundry lists, and we have their grocery lists. We know intimate details about where each person lived and what kind of life they lived. We know more about them from 3,500 years ago than we know about Americans from 200 years ago. In other words, that's a hint of the kind of hyper-chronicling that y'all do now on social media.
Yeah, I was just thinking that.
Today? All I gotta do is look at your social media account, I will know. How's your dog doing? You've told me that too. What's the latest choreographed picture of the idyllic life you're leading, where you were careful not to show the factory in front of your front door by taking the picture in an angle so that all we saw was the sky and the trees? It's all there. Make sure not to give anybody your address because they can Google map it and they will see the factory. You don't want. Carefully choreograph. Fast forward. Make it 6th century BC. There's a guy named Cyrus the Great, Kurosh, Persian. In fact, he's the guy who creates the Persian Empire. When he does it, he issues the world's first ever Bill of Rights. When I say Bill of Rights, you think Western civilization. There it is, the Persians. They beat everybody to it. By the way, just for the record, that Bill of Rights, that's almost 2,600 years old. It's over 2,500 years old. Almost 26 centuries. Banned slavery, human sacrifice, and it guaranteed freedom of religion. In fact, it encouraged freedom of religion. The Persians told everybody in the empire, if your temples are in disrepair, we will fix it for you using government funding. So after the Neo-Babylonian Empire to conquer the Jews in Palestine and dragged some of those Jews to Babylon, not to be slaves, but to live in Babylon. They were forcibly relocated to Babylon. When Kurosh conquered Babylon, he told the Jews, no, you can live anywhere you want. We're not doing that anymore. There's no slavery in my empire. There's no forced living anywhere in my empire. And so a bunch of them wanted to go back to Palestine. The Temple of Solomon had been destroyed by the Neo-Babylonians because they hated the Jews and they just wanted to hurt them. So they tore down the Temple of Solomon. And when they read the Bill of Rights, they go, hey, can we get a new Temple of Solomon? Kurosh is like, yes, of course. Everybody gets their temples rebuilt. And he said, okay, yeah, show me the plans. And let's just say they added stuff from the original temple. For example, they built a giant human-made mesa and then put the second Temple of Solomon on top. And so Kurosh is looking at it and he goes, wait, what? That's like a mountain, a flat mountain. The Babylonians tore that down? I don't even know how anybody built it, let alone tore it down. And Jews are like, yeah, they really hated us. And so Kurosh goes, well, we're going to do it. We promised you we'd do it. We're going to build it. But I only know one people on earth that can build mountains. It'll be Persian gold, but it's going to be Egyptian engineers. And they went and grabbed Egyptian engineers, and they built the Temple Mount with Persian gold. And that's why Kurosh is in the Bible. Thales, shortly afterwards, a few decades later, invents philosophy, Miletus. It spreads, it goes to Athens. The Athenians fall in love with it. A woman named Aspasia teaches Socrates. Oh, that got left out of your stories, didn't it?
Yep.
Socrates' teacher was a woman named Aspasia.
Oh, no doubt. Okay, yeah, obviously I never heard about hair before. This is why I'm not that surprised about not hearing about Socrates' teacher being a woman, because, you know, like, they don't really hear about that much women in that time of the history, or in general, past, I don't know. When did we start actually hear about actually women that they were doing something? And obviously there were women beforehand, so they were doing some. There were some women probably there that they were important and they had something to say as well. But it's just they kind of been like kind of omitted in the history books a lot of times. I can't really say that I'm going to give you any examples of it, but I'm pretty sure if someone is knowledgeable enough, they probably would point out some things that they were it's saying that, oh, this is men that done and that and this, but honestly there was a woman doing that as well, or beforehand, or it was just straight up kind of stolen. I'm kind of rambling now, guys. I don't know what's going on with me. I'm trying to just kind of like not be too much of distracted by the ad here. So, yep. I don't want to skip it either, so. I'm actually not sure how the ads and how do people get paid from the ads. Do they have to be watched all together, or just that 5 seconds and then skipping and they're still gonna get paid, or do you have to click it in those ads and that's how they're gonna get paid? I wonder. I'm gonna have to watch something about it. Alright, we're back.
The reason why that got left out of your history is because once we became Christian, We didn't like the idea that women were teachers and leaders, and so there was a systematic attempt to delete all the women leaders and all the women philosophers from the history textbooks. And so if you look up Aspasia, you will find people saying, yeah, she may not have been real. Why would Socrates tell us that a mythical person taught him philosophy? What's the point in even making up the story? What's the likelihood that she wasn't real? It's preposterous, but it fits our patriarchal orientation. The Persians and the Greeks are in this epic back and forth, and eventually the Persians get bored with the Greeks and stop fighting them, and then Alexander the Great conquers them out of the blue, and this unbelievable event. And then that Greek civilization starts to come apart and gets replaced by this Roman civilization. And the Romans are amazing conquerors. They take the Greek phalanx, they upgrade it, they turn it into the Roman legion. The Persians eventually recover from the Greek conquest, and now the new clash is between the Persians and the Romans, and it'll last 53 BC, when the Battle of Karhay, until the rise of Islam, when it ends. So the Muslims start conquering Persia in 633. So 53 BC to 633, almost 7 centuries. The Persians and the Romans fight it out. Brutal, nasty, knockdown, drag-out fights. But in the middle of all of this, there's one thing that's really powerful and important for our purposes, and it's the Great Library. One of the Greeks who went with Alexander and conquered the Persians, his name was Ptolemy the First, Sotir, Ptolemy the Savior. That's the title he took. He goes and carves Egypt out of this Greek empire when Alexander the Great dies, because he thought Egypt was the best piece of real estate in Alexander's empire. And then he founds the Great Library. The idea behind the Great Library is it'll be the world's repository for information. And what they're going to do is they're going to bring books from every society and every culture there and keep a copy. And they're going to invent things. The first thing on earth called a museum was one of the buildings at the Great Library. It was a museum for all the latest advanced tech. There was no such thing as copyright. The idea was that you could go to Alexandria, visit the library, see the museum, see the advanced tech, and then build on it. But then once you built on it, you were supposed to bring your advances there so that the next generation of advances could be made based on yours. That was the idea behind the museum, not so you could stick art and ancient relics in it. It was supposed to be so that the world could advance technologically. At its height, the Great Library may have reached as many as 1 million books. I actually think 1 million is probably the right number. I've seen 2 million, feel like that's too many. I've seen 200,000, I feel like that's too few. To give you an idea of what 1 million books is, the Library of Congress, the United States Library of Congress, reached the 1 million book mark in 1905. So in terms of quantity of information,
so how much is it
the Great
now?
Library was on par with where we were in 1905. Quality, no, but quantity, yes. Because by 1905, we had flight, the light bulb, and steam trains. But remember Heron? He was at the Great Library, so they had steam. They just hadn't made trains yet. If they had had a little bit more time, they might have. But they run out of time. They run out of time because Rome converts to Christianity. Now, this isn't me bashing Christianity. I'm not in the mood to bash anybody. I just want to tell you the story, because it's important that we acknowledge what happened. As Rome switched to being Christian and dumped its pagan roots, it also started to slowly move away from this idea that it needed to be advanced technologically. And in 391 AD, it took that to the maximum level when Emperor Theodosius issued a decree declaring that the Roman Empire it wasn't just that Christianity was the official religion. It wasn't just that Christianity was the state's religion. It was also the only religion. Non-Christians were no longer welcome in the empire. Jews and...
Oh. So that's when it became... Oh no, Christianity was monotheistic from the get-go. Although it's kind of like confusing if you think about the fact that... No, wait, because it says that the Trinity is the one thing, isn't it? It's the one, the Son, the Ghost. The Ghost? Oh, I'm so terrible at religion at this stage that I can't even remember how it was. The Father, the Son, is it the Spirit? So, yeah, so Christianity was monotheistic and it's not very inclusive. It's just very exclusive, I think. It's just for Christians, isn't it? And it's been kind of like that from kind of beginning. So, yeah. I don't know, we'll see what else he's gonna say, because I'm kind of curious of what he had to say about that. But I have to finish with that, so. And where is the timer? There used to be a timer here saying how much time left, but not anymore. That's weird. Okay. And we're back again.
Pagans needed to convert or leave. And when that happened, the Archbishop of Alexandria, Archbishop Theophilus, issued his own decree asking the Christian population of Alexandria to go ahead and get rid of the pagans and the Jews. They went to the Jewish quarter. Alexandria was the largest Jewish city on the planet. Alexandria is where the Septuagint was made. So the second Greek pharaoh, Ptolemy II, Ptolemy Philadelphus, had such a large Jewish population in Alexandria that couldn't speak Hebrew, so they didn't know how to read their holy texts, that he decided to commission a Greek translation of the Old Testament into Greek so that the Greek-speaking Jews living in Alexandria would be able to access their holy texts. So he got 70-something rabbis, we don't know the exact number, and he made the Septuagint, which means 70. And the Septuagint was because he had 70 rabbis translate the Old Testament so that it could weed out bias and error, and they would merge the 70 translations into one so they could get an accurate translation. We have since found the Dead Sea Scrolls, which were older, but not by much. I think they were 200 or 300 years old. So now we have the original Old Testament material in the original Hebrew, and we've compared them. You don't need to change your translations. The Septuagint is spot on. It was an amazing translation. In other words, he pulled it off. The mob goes to the Jewish quarter and just begins massacring the Jews. When they're done destroying the Jewish quarter, which won't be inhabited again for another 1,500 years, they then go and try to find the pagans. The problem with the pagans is they were intermingled with the Christians. So you just literally had to knock on doors and go, "Are you pagan?" Pretty much everybody is going to deny it. So then you go, "Who are your pagan neighbors?" And then, right now you can find out, because people will rat each other out. It's hilarious. Just ask the Yugoslavs when they decided to kill each other in Bosnia-Herzegovina. They then go to the Great Library. The Great Library was run by a woman named Hypatia. Hypatia wasn't actually technically a pagan. She was a theist, so she did believe that there was an entity who created the universe, a single entity. But she didn't think that anybody could know its nature, so she rejected Christianity. But the majority of the students at the Great Library and the majority of the professors at the Great Library were, in fact, pagan. And so the mob decides to get rid of the Great Library, and they destroy it. But we, as a society, get lucky, because before they destroyed it, by a few decades. There was a Persian emperor who got jealous of the Great Library. His name was Shapur the Great. Shapur wanted his own great library. He defeats a Roman emperor, Valerian. He captures 2 intact Roman legions. He sells one into slavery in China, takes the money from the sale, and then he uses that money and orders the Roman legions to build him 2 brand new cities. One of them is Gondishapur. In Gondishapur, he builds an academy that will be the Persian equivalent to the Great Library. And he starts collecting books. He's having trouble getting Roman books because the Romans and the Persians hate each other so much, but he's having no trouble getting Chinese texts and Indian texts. And so he's adding those to the Persian knowledge. Lao Tzu, he gets Lao Tzu, one of the greatest philosophers in human history. Not him, but his books, right? Lao Tzu is 600 years earlier. But he gets his books, which is amazing, because when Qin the Great unifies India, he bans Lao Tzu and starts wiping out Lao Tzu's works. But now there's a place for them to survive. When the Great Library is burnt, a group of Romans decide to recover, and they do it at the Academy of Athens. When they do this at the Academy of Athens, that gets banned. So they get some of the books together at the Academy, but Emperor Justinian goes, nah, we got rid of the Great Library, we don't need an academy to replace it. Those Greek scholars in 529, when the academy is banned, grab all their books, they jump on a ship, they head to Syria. They cross Syria, they get to what would roughly be the Iraq-Syria border today. It was roughly where the Roman-Persian border was. And they approach the Persians and they say, we want asylum. And the Persians go, yeah, of course. Who would want to live under Roman rule anyway? These guys are crazy. And they go, yeah, not for us only. We want asylum for our books. And the Persians go, your books? They go, yeah, we're bringing everything we have left that hasn't been burnt by Christian mobs. And the Persians go, oh, come with us. And they take them to Gondishapur, and they take all those books and they merge them in.
Okay, so there's another ad. There's a lot of ads today. I've noticed there's a lot of ads even on like a reels on Facebook and stuff like that. So what I'm gonna do, we're gonna play this ad and then I'm gonna stop, and I'm gonna actually stop this one recording as well because it's almost over 20 minutes now too. So we're gonna leave that for another part in 2 weeks time. As always, very interesting, a lot of knowledge. There's a lot of things I would like to kind of dive in maybe later on, and yeah, so as always, really enjoyable, really enjoyed it. And yeah, thank you very much for watching. And I need to get the timing. I think it was at hour 20 something. So yeah, let me just watch the ad and then we can actually go to say bye, and I'll see you next week, tomorrow even. Alright, we are at 1 hour 22, so we're gonna start from that in 2 weeks time, and thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you tomorrow. Bye.